The collapse of the Soviet Union between 1989 and 1991 was a momentous event that signaled the definitive end of the Cold War. As more republics within the USSR pushed for independence, the Soviet Union spiraled into a deep political and economic crisis. Gorbachev's reforms, particularly perestroika and glasnost, had unintentionally loosened the central government's control over the republics. The Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania led the charge for independence, declaring their sovereignty in 1990. This inspired other republics like Ukraine, Georgia, and Armenia to follow suit, igniting a wave of nationalist movements across the USSR. At the heart of the crisis was the failure of Gorbachev's economic reforms. Perestroika, which aimed to restructure the stagnant Soviet economy, had not delivered the intended results. Instead of revitalizing the economy, it led to confusion and shortages. State control weakened without a functional market to replace it, and inflation soared. Basic goods became scarce, and the Soviet people grew increasingly disillusioned as living conditions deteriorated. Meanwhile, the Communist Party, losing its grip on power, faced rising discontent from both reformers and hardliners. In August 1991, as the situation worsened, a group of communist hardliners attempted a coup to oust Gorbachev and restore strict central control. The plotters, alarmed by Gorbachev's willingness to grant greater autonomy to the republics and his perceived concessions to the West, declared a state of emergency and placed Gorbachev under house arrest at his dacha in Crimea. However, the coup quickly collapsed. Boris Yeltsin, the president of the Russian Republic, rallied the people of Moscow and military forces against the plotters, leading to mass protests in support of Gorbachev. Within days, the coup was defeated, but the event revealed the extent of the division and decay within the Soviet government. After the coup's failure, the momentum for independence surged. The Republic saw the attempted coup as proof that the Soviet system could no longer function. Ukraine, the second-largest Soviet republic, declared independence later that month, and other republics soon followed. By December 1991, the Soviet Union was disintegrating at an unstoppable pace. On December 25th, Gorbachev resigned as president of the Soviet Union, acknowledging that the country he had tried to reform no longer existed. The next day, the Soviet Union was formally dissolved, and the Russian Federation, led by Yeltsin, emerged as its successor state. The collapse of the Soviet Union ended nearly 7 decades of communist rule and marked the end of the Cold War. What had begun as an effort to save the Soviet state through reform had instead unraveled the system, as the republics chose independence over continued unity, leaving behind a fractured and uncertain post-Soviet world.